All right, and here they are, as promised, two of the fastest risers in the fantasy game today. Our first guest is a writer and a podcaster, and you probably know him from being the most positive cat on Twitter in the game today, a fast riser. I know him as Mr. Troy King. You may know him as T King Mode. Troy, man, welcome to the podcast, and this has been a long time. You and I started this journey, this conversation about getting you on here about 10 months ago.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we could finally make it happen, man. I'm so excited to be on. I've listened to, Memphis on Dynasty Happy Hour. That's how I originally discovered his podcast. And then obviously I know about WarZone now, but I'm extremely excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, man, it was great, and I'm not going to take credit. Now, our next guest ties into Josh Allen. Like Jerry will tell you, 3 years ago, I was all about Josh Allen. I think I've got an eye for emerging talent, because if you're not following Troy, you're living under a fantasy rock. This guy, and you know what? Success doesn't happen. Success happens because you work your ass off. So very grateful to have you on the podcast, our benefit. And then one of your friends, one of your co-collaborators, she is a one-namer, like Cher, like Madonna, like Pele, like LeBron, like so many others. It's Linda, at Linda Lyons. Did I say that right? Lindell Lyons?
It's Lindellians, but frankly, you can say it however you want. It's your show.
You're our guest. So tell us what's going on with you guys, man. We're all out here chopping it up, mixing up some content. What's going on with you and your crew?
Well, I mean, just like you guys, we just give each other shit on the regular, but we have a good time. I like hanging out with Troy. I'm glad you guys planned this for months, and I managed to sneak in and crash the party right before it happens. So
it's okay. Like that's how I live. That's my whole bit. I don't know what the hell goes on every time. He just tells me to show up around 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, and I'm just here to talk into this thing.
Little peek behind the curtain. So I've been interacting with you guys, got you guys booked, sent you the show sheet, emails, what have you. Jerry literally texts me at 5:30. Now, he has access to the show document. It's 5:30 p.m. We're going live at night. He's like, what are we doing tonight?
I love
classic. Classic Jerry. Classic Jerry. So what are we doing tonight, you may ask? We're going to do a little rookie match game. We're going to do a little rookie wish casting. So I went around, now that free agency for the most part is done, there's still a T.Y. Hilton here, a James Conner there to still sign, but most of the big jobs are filled. So we're going to do a little wish casting and matchmaking, if you will. So we're going to do 4 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and 4 pass catchers to allow us to potentially work in a gentleman named Kyle Pitts. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let Linda, ladies first, and we're going to let Linda go first. She is going to pick the rookie quarterback that she thinks is best suited for her Denver Broncos. Linda, who do you think of the rookies not named Trevor Lawrence is best suited for the Broncos, that weapon, structure, and offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur?
Well, first of all, this was harder than any of my other tasks on the show sheet because it was my team, and I was like, fuck. Like, part of me is still on Drew Lock, and then I have, like, part of me is like, are we going to get Watson? And it's a very confusing time in my quarterback Bronco head. So I had to, like, ignore all that, and that was very difficult. I found it to be a troubling exercise, but I did land on Trey Lance, the dual threat quarterback. I don't know that he's going to be there at 9, but if we're wishful thinking, then that's who I want there. We're talking about, he ran 14 touchdowns in last year. Didn't have a single interception until his last game, something like 307 attempts before he threw an interception. He has some mechanics that I think need worked on, but I really like that he brings both a passing threat and a threat on the ground.
Well, I'm going to give that particular response this response. Come out the gate hot. I absolutely love Trey Lance. I like the fact that he makes a lot of his own line calls at the line of scrimmage. I like the fact that he can play under center. And I love the fact that he would be going to Pat Shurmur. I know he wasn't the best head coach in the world, but I can tell you that he's been a very successful offensive coordinator. Case Keenum had his best season under Pat Shurmur. We saw Daniel Jones have a much better rookie season under Pat Shurmur than he did in year 2 with the clapper and Jason Garrett. So I love the answer. Trey Lance is my QB2 in this class right now. I'll catch some heat from that, but I got broad shoulders. What can I say? So I'm going to open it up. Jerry or Troy, any pros or cons to the Trey Lance to Denver?
I'll go. I believe I don't really have any cons. I mean, he's crazy athletic. He has a big arm. I think he's dynamic. And what we saw last year, they need more of a spark. Like Drew Lock, he was okay. You know, he had his moments, but I think Trey Lance is going to bring some excitement to the offensive system. And you're just going to have to account for, you know, not just his arm, but you're going to have to account for his rushing as well. And he's one of the more raw prospects in terms of the other ones, but at the same time, I believe his potential is through the roof. So I do like that fit for the Broncos.
And listen, as a Detroit Lions fan, I would be pissed off that they passed on the man, because all I ever get is a tortured effing return when it comes to draft day. And it would be an exact Lions move to do some dumb shit like that. But if he lands in the Broncos, listen, if I was Michelangelo and I was able to sculpt a perfect human being, I would do it for Cortland Sutton. And if Trey Lance ended up there, I would be thrilled at the prospect of having that man there. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's cool too, don't get me wrong. But if I was going to sculpt, it would be Cortland Sutton, because that is my man crush. Instead, I made an ashtray that is so embarrassing that I don't think my mom kept it for a week, because I have no artistic ability in the least. So, yeah, I think that would be an awesome spot. Really, listen, no offense to my man Drew Lock. I liked him when the Detroit Lions had him and his name was Joey Harrington. I'm good on that whole thing. Let's bring on the next generation of guys.
You have Goff though. You guys have Goff. You're good. You're set for life.
Yeah, awesome. We got vanilla ice cream in there. That's all we got. Nothing sexy about him.
Yeah, he's as Tom Brady is more mobile than Jared Goff. You know, Drew Lock peaked for me when he rapped the rap song "Put On" by Jeezy word for word. That was his highlight. It's been all down. It's been all downhill.
That was high school Jerry to a T right there.
But here's the thing. So he did Put On with the Denver Broncos. If you go back to his Mizzou days, he did Young Jock, It's Going Down, word for word as well. So he definitely has a little rap flow in his game, even if he doesn't have much touchdown throw in his game. So, all right, Troy, you're up next, man. You get the Carolina Panthers. Who do you want to see working there with Joe Brady, with Matt Rule, with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, CMC? What would be the best pick there?
This was tough because I was trying to go based off of where they were drafting, right? And whoever they get is going to be very dependent on the Jets, the 49ers. We'll see what the Eagles do, right? So it's whoever's pretty much left. But somehow, some way, if it were possible for Justin Fields to end up with the Panthers, I believe that he would be the best fit for that offense. There's not much that I need to say. Justin Fields is my QB2. Just, we talking about Lance and all that, but not Justin Fields to me. And people who fell off the bandwagon, right, because he was consensus QB2 pretty much all season. Now he's kind of swinging back there, but he had like 2 bad games, and all of a sudden they want to put everybody and their mama in front of him. Zach Wilson. Even talk about Mac Jones being ahead of him in some places. Like, nah. Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft to me. He's obviously athletic. He has poise. He has ball placement. He has everything that you're looking for in a quarterback. I'm excited for him. But also, I don't even have to talk about the weapons. We already know how amazing his surrounding cast would be if Justin Fields were there. That's my dream spot for him.
All right. Well, the response from Mr. King would be this.
Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the King, you best not miss.
If you come at the King or you come at Justin Fields, you best. I love this pick. Here's the thing. Joe Burrow was, I don't want to use the term scrub, but he was a less than. He was a projected 6th round pick before he had the opportunity to work with Joe Brady and that offense that he runs. And for the record, Mr. Fields is my QB3 in this class. The difference is I like the fact that Trey Lance has made his own calls of protection at the line of scrimmage. It's a slight nuance of a difference. I think it will help him translate just a touch better at the NFL. But I love both. And I didn't mention this to start, but I love all of these quarterbacks. I tweeted this out the other day. I've been listening to a lot of non-fantasy but yet football-related content, and I think we're going to see a weird confluence of really good teams with really good front offices and head coaches drafting these quarterbacks. If these guys land in Denver or Carolina, Jerry's getting ready to do, well, the Jets, sorry, Jerry, but New England. If San Francisco is allegedly in the market, we could wind up where these guys not only land on good teams, but they land with really good weapons, and their super flex value is just going to be to the moon. I mean, if Trey Lance lands in Denver with Sutton, Jerry's man, and Judy and Fant and Melvin Gordon, see, lend us to the moon. So if you can do it now, I don't think you can. If you need a quarterback in this year's super flex leagues, I don't think you can overpay for one of those top 4 or 5 picks. I mean, if you need your dude, get your dude, because next year's class, I know there's a couple of guys. We'll get into that then. So, Jerry, here you go, buddy. I love you. I saved the Jets just for you. That's what friends are for. So tell us, who is the perfect fit for these New York Football Jets with Mike, not to be confused with Matt LaFleur?
You did not save me the Jets. You were a dickhead bully, and you left me with the Jets.
Jerry, if you wrote the show sheet one time, you could give me the Jets.
Not too much work. I'd rather just be lazy. So here's the thing. Like Troy, I have Justin Fields as my QB2. I'm not high as giraffe nuts like you, having Trey Lance there. But I can't just say, Justin Fields just because I think he's the second best guy. So I'm going to give a reason for why Mac Jones should go. Not at 2. Not at 2. Now, granted, I don't think my man's going to slip all the way to 23. We're living in a hypothetical world. Maybe the Lions are good here. Maybe they're not. I'm not sure. But the reason I would say Mac Jones is going to be in a good spot is because he played at Alabama, and they have extremely high standards, believe it or not. If you have watched college football, you happen to know they kick the dog piss out of every single team they play all the time. It's horrible. Michigan State played him in a college football playoff. We didn't even score a point. I cried. I curled into a ball. It was embarrassing. I didn't watch that game. And he's got to go to the big city in New York. So that's the thing that scares me a little bit. So you see, Trey Lance. My man's in North Dakota. North Dakota and New York City are 2 different worlds. As a person that lives in a country bumpkin-ass town, I promise you, if I lived in New York City, I would be wide-eyed and teary-eyed walking down the streets. I would not be prepared. So it scares me a little bit. Not to say Tuscaloosa, Alabama is not that, but at least there is some pressure. You are going to have to be successful to be an Alabama quarterback to remain the Alabama quarterback. Jalen Hurts, we're looking at you, bud. And then you're going to have to show up in New York, and you're going to have to save him. So that I don't think the man's going to go 2, and I don't think he's going to slip to 23. But I think for those reasons, I think Mac Jones would be an okay fit there.
All right, well, Jerry, I got one for you because, it wouldn't be fair to have a sounder for the guest.
And I am sure it is just as positive as theirs was.
It's very apropos.
You're a loser. Loser.
Okay.
No, I
Listen, hold on.
you.
Two things. What the hell is apropos?
It means appropriate.
I don't know
It's just short for appropriate.
And earlier you said confluence, and I didn't think that was a word, but so I Googled it. It actually is. So good for you.
Jerry,
I'm learning things. I'm writing them down. I'm getting smarter as we're sitting here. Bless you,
I only
sweetheart.
look like, if you're watching live on YouTube, I only look like dumbass tattooed white trash. I'm actually quite smart for a piece of tattooed white trash. Anyway, keep moving on. I love Mac Jones. I don't think he's going to make it to the Jets. I was actually planning on Mac Jones for my guy, so I've got to pivot. I've got to pivot on the fly, and I have got the New England Patriots. But before I do, I'm going to give it to Linda. Linda, are you a Mac Jones fan? He had his pro day today. Give us what you got.
I'm a Mac Jones stan. I got in my Denver rookie QB notes, I put Mac Jones as well, but you said wishful thinking, and if we're going super wishful, then I'll take Trey Lance. But I like Mac Jones just fine. He's a fucking tank, bro. He does not get out of the way if he's going to get hit. He throws the ball. And I love that. Like, I know dual threat is like the new hype thing, but I love a quarterback that's not afraid to get hit. I can't explain what that is, but it's just fun to watch. And he's got a cannon of an arm.
Hey, I would love Mac Jones there with Corey Davis, Denzel Mims. What if they went Kyle Pitts at 2, which is not as crazy. It's Lion-esque to go Kyle.
Oh yeah, it is.
Anyway, so I guess I'm going to have to pivot on the fly. Here's the thing. Is anyone going to do Bill Belichick a favor and let him get inside the top 5, top 10?
Yeah,
the Dolphins wouldn't. The Jets wouldn't.
No, I'm good. He's not going to trade up. He's not. I don't see Bill Belichick trading up, so he's not going to get in the top 5. He's going to have to deal with whatever's left. So
my guy was going to be Mac Jones, and it almost feels like they're building an offense there for Mac Jones. You know, the 2 tight ends, they're improving the offensive line because he's not the most mobile. He can't extend plays with his legs. So I am going to go. I guess I have to go Zach Wilson. Let's talk about him real quick. I love the arm. My concerns with Zach Wilson is that he's a little scrawny. You know, he can come down to my house. My mama can make him some biscuits and gravy. We can put some meat on his bones because, man, in the NFL, I mean, I think he can get away with that, but he's either got to get rid of the ball very quickly, like a Russell Wilson, like a Kyler Murray, because at 205 pounds, at 6'3", you ain't going to last real long in this league if you try to be Mac Jones. Mac Jones, all that extra pudding, that's my people, man. I like a Mac Jones. I like a guy with a little bit of a little bit of girth back there. Nothing wrong with it. Not
Please
everybody.
cut that. Please cut
I
that.
wouldn't
We
have
can
said
have that as a
girth.
drop
my.
later.
What's that?
All that
it's
extra
hot in
pudding and
here.
that girth back there.
Oh yeah. I'll make that your intro, Jerry. So anyway, I'm going Mac Jones as my quarterback. Anybody with Mac Jones, would that make you happy or sad? Because he feels like I don't know. I like the fact that when he was at the Senior Bowl, that they said that he was installing the offense. He was the alpha in the room. He's the alpha among alphas. I get that he doesn't fit the profile. I get that he doesn't look like the athlete of the day. No one's ever confusing Mac Jones with Justin Fields. But he's an accurate QB. He's got the arm. I like the arm when you play outdoors in the weather, whether that's New England, whether that's the New York Jets, whether that's the Broncos. Not everybody's playing in the dome in Detroit or Indianapolis. And having that big, strong arm when the weather gets bad sure helps. I mean, for all my knocks on Baker, Baker's got a big, strong arm for a man his size, and he has to push the ball through that wind. Josh Allen's another guy in Buffalo. So if you're going to go for a quarterback in New England, you got to have someone with a hose. You got to be able to navigate that weather. So I don't think there's a bad fit, but if I had to pick one, Jerry stole mine. He threw me a curveball. I was like trying to lob him up a nice softie to take Zach Wilson, but I would have went Mac Jones there. So I'm going to take a quick pause. All right, and now we are going to move into the running back. So we're going to do the exact same drill, but with the running back position. So I'm going to let Troy go first this time. Troy, your running back is going to be, which running back do you want to go to the Atlanta Falcons? Now, you live in Florida. You're probably the closest by proximity to Hotlanta. Which one of these rookie running backs would you be absolutely ecstatic if they wound up in Atlanta with Mr. Matt Ryan?
So I would preface this, right? Because I want this running back to actually go to the Dolphins, but since that's not the question for the Falcons, I went Najee Harris, right? Najee Harris to me is the RB1. Najee Harris, I believe no matter where he goes, he's a 3-down workhorse back. He's 230 pounds. Like, this man, he's great. I mean, he's great at everything he does. He's a powerful runner. He's an underrated pass catcher. He does everything that you want him to do. Like, to me, in that Atlanta offense, he's going to be what Todd Gurley should have been if he was healthy. He's what they need, right? They need one guy who's going to be able to run the ball because they couldn't run. They were horrible last year, right? They were terrible with their RBBC of trash, So they need someone like Najee Harris to step in if I had like a consolation prize, I think Etienne, he's a different style running back than Najee, but he's obviously explosive, and I believe that he can also bring a different element to that. I mean, both of them are really close. Etienne's like my running back 3, but the question is Najee, because I'm only saying that because I want the Dolphins to get Najee. But if I had to pick because of the question, Najee Harris to the Falcons.
I love it because he's a guy that's got that big physical presence that can run the ball, a la Derrick Henry, who we saw Arthur Smith have great success with in his 2 years as the OC in Tennessee. But imagine a Derrick Henry that's a smooth pass catcher. And when you have a guy who's as mobile as a bar stool back there at the quarterback position of Matt Ryan, he's not going to Lamar Jackson and run the ball. He's going to check the ball down. So he's going to have all that rushing upside with all the PPR upside as well. Atlanta, I think we're going to talk about a few other spots, but I think Atlanta is my number one. So Linda, I'm going to kick it to you. What do you think about Mr. King's pick of Najee to the Falcons? And then you get to tell us who you want to go to the New York Jets. Jerry, I didn't give you the Jets every time.
Oh, it was kind of you. I like Najee Harris to the Falcons. How could you not in that offense, like you said, with a quarterback like Matt Ryan, who's not going to tuck and run the ball? There's unlimited upside to his pass catching. So I love that pick and would like it more than the Dolphins. So sorry, Troy. Don't look at me like that.
He give you the snarl. Now I want to know. He should be thrilled. He as a Dolphins fan, he just got Malcolm Brown in free agency. I mean, that's like almost. I mean, we laugh, but Malcolm Brown is currently employed. That's something James Conner would love to be. So we'll see what happens. But Linda, who do you want the Jets to take? The Jets also have 2 first-rounders. Could they be in play with that mid-20 pick they got from the Seahawks?
I think they have way too much to figure out than running back to take a running back in the first round. But if they went running back sometime in the second round, I love Javonte Williams. Love him. And I would wager, and I haven't finished setting rankings, but that he ends up my RB2. His upside is insane. He's a pass catching back. He's got this trunk size that he can just run over anyone. He was 47% of his tackles are missed tackles. That means damn near 50 out of 50 or 100. Math, not my strong suit. 50 out of 100 times. So half the time you're missing a tackle on this man. He runs with so much power. And I think in that zone scheme that they do, that LaFleur is going to try to implement in that offense, he'll see a hole and burst through it. And he's not going to outrun you or juke you or any of that, but he'll take you with him.
This man, so I got to give credit where credit is due. Our graphics guy, Matty, at Matty Big Chest on Twitter, he was telling us in our group chat that he had Javonte Williams as his RB2. And I was like, shut your filthy sewer. Don't come into this chat with that level of disrespect. And then, you start hearing it, and you start hearing it some more. And I heard it from Greg Cosell. And I heard it from a couple other people that I really respect. Daniel Jeremiah has good things to say about Javonte. So I'm like, God, I have to give Matty credit. And it broke my heart. But I see Troy nodding his head. So you're a Javonte guy as well.
Yes. So if we don't get Najee in the first round, then in the second round, we can get Javonte. I would be happy with that, right? So I believe one of those 2 backs are the ones that I'm eyeing for the Dolphins. So I think both of them would be beautifully in terms of pairing with Myles Gaskin. I love that kind of 1-2 punch, thunder and lightning that was supposed to happen last year with stupid Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. We can actually make it happen this year with Najee and Javonte and Myles Gaskin. So we're crossing our fingers for that.
Hey, we can make fun of Jordan Howard all we want. He may not have a knack for the end zone, but he has a knack for finding a job. So Jerry, I'm going to throw you a bone this time, a little bit nicer to you. Who do you want the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, this is a job that's still wide open from a dynasty standpoint. If you can catch a league mate tripping, go out and see what you can get some cheap Anthony McFarland for. Year 2 in the Pittsburgh season, in the Pittsburgh offense. He may be the lightning to someone else's thunder in Pittsburgh, but I had a bit of a man crush on Anthony McFarland last year. But Jerry, who do you want from this class to wind up on the Pittsburgh Steelers?
In truth, I don't think it matters. Now, I'm going to give you a guy. I'm not going to be lazy enough to not give you somebody, but whoever ends up on the Steelers, it doesn't matter even if they start. Up until the season starts, their value is going to skyrocket because they are going to be perceived to be the guy. So you are going to be able to get them or sell them for a king's ransom, unless it's one of the big name guys. In which case, everyone is going to hold them and protect them like it is Fort Knox with, ramparts and machine guns, and it's going to be tough to get somebody like that just because Pittsburgh is so conducive to running back fantasy points, especially with Grandpappy Big Ben coming back, who loves to just dink and dunk to every running back that's there. I know you are a man that gets your nipples get a little hard for Anthony McFarland, but I think we would have seen more of him if he was going to be that guy. I think Benny Snell is still going to be there, and that's gross, and I hate it with everything in me. It is like a kick in the nuts or a spit in the face, whichever way you want to take it. So I think they're going to get somebody that's going to be a little bit better of a pass catcher. So I don't think they're going to go first round running back because they have the 24th pick. I mean, listen, if they take Najee Harris or ETN or Williams or whoever they do, listen, if that happens, Twitter's exploding. I'm going to mute the name of whoever gets them because I'm not going to want to hear it for 4 days. So I think the second or the third is more likely. So I'm going to say someone like Kenny Gainwell. So he's a pretty good pass catcher. He's a dynamic player. He's been, he's gotten the work. So that's somebody that I would say, and that's someone that I think his perception, at one point it was Najee, it was Travis Etienne, and then it was Kenneth Gainwell for a while. And now he has just fallen off the face of the earth and people just love to hate the man. So I think that would be a big, big spike in his value. I would like to see it because I do think he's a good player and I think he's going to have a role no matter where he lands. But I think the negative narrative that has surrounded him will definitely reverse if he ends up in Pittsburgh, and it doesn't matter. As long as it's within the first 2 days of the draft, you will definitely see an increase in value.
All right, I'm going to throw this one back to Troy now. I saw a big smile, which Troy's a very smiley fella, but I saw a big smile when he said Kenneth Gainwell to the Steelers. What's up with your love of Mr. Gainwell?
Well, he is somebody that I recently fell in love with, right? Because I have a man crushes on a bunch of different players.
Listen, new love is the best love. So, yeah, I ain't mad at you.
You're right. You're right. Because I was watching film, right? Because I'll be honest, I'm a film novice, right? But over this offseason, I've been really diving into watching film and looking at specific criteria. And then Gainwell to me just pops, right? Shout out to Mitch Sorensen, our co-host, because he's madly in love with him. So he's the reason I'm like, all right, let me go look at this dude. And his pass catching, his explosiveness, like to me, I'm like, okay, I like this guy. I just like this film. He just stood out to me. And I'm like, all right, I want this dude on my teams. And mainly his pass catching, right? He looked like a mini receiver out there. So that was really caught my eye. And obviously that's very translatable to the NFL. So no matter where he goes, and also where he weighed in. And people were curious about what he was going to weigh in at. I think he was like over 200 pounds, or I forgot what his exact weight was, but it was good enough where I was like, okay, like he's not some skinny dude. He can actually, he can make an impact wherever he is. I don't know if he's the 3-down back. I would hope that someone would use him that way, but I'm just very excited about his prospects.
All right, and then Linde. Now, he's a Big 12 guy. You happen to reside in Big 12 country. You're an Okie State fan. What do you think about Gainwell?
I like Kenneth Gainwell. I distinctly remember when it went from like Gainwell hype to like this. It was like cool to not like him, and I never transitioned out of like I'm not super high on him, but like Troy said, his pass catching is fun, and he's fun to watch. Those are guys you want on your fantasy team, regardless of how much research we do. At some point, you want to take a guy that is fun to root for. When they pop off the screen like that, they're fun to root for.
I love that take. Sometimes as Dynasty and fantasy content providers, I think a lot of times we're trying to impress each other instead of helping the listener and the content consumer. And guys, sometimes it's as simple as, hey, I'm watching football and this guy looks like he's really good at football. It doesn't have to be that hard. Now, you can add in some variables. Draft capital. Jerry mentioned he would love to see him go on day 2. Landing spot. Would love to see him land in a spot like Pittsburgh. But it doesn't have to be super complicated. So I both love Jerry and hate Jerry at the same time. I thought he had handed me a hot one because he stole my guy again. Now, I have which rookie running back do I want to see wind up in Arizona with Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, and those older gents at wide receiver. So I was going to go Kenneth Gainwell because I like the pass catching chops as well. But I'm going to have to rewrite the first round of the NFL draft, and the Arizona Cardinals pull a swerve. The general manager and head coach know they have to win to keep their jobs. So especially the head coach. So they're going to go all in on offense. They've got A.J. Green. They've got D-Hop. They've got Kyler. What do they need? They need Travis Etienne with the 16th overall pick. Man, as sexy as it would be to see CMC in a backfield with Trey Lance, dude, Travis Etienne in a backfield with Kyler Murray would just be next level. Now, I want my man Chase Edmonds to get his shot at doing something. But man, you put a guy with the tools in his tool belt like a Travis Etienne in that offense, good luck trying to read that run pass option with Travis Etienne and Kyler Murray, because one of them is going to torch you bad. And so this is Jerry's fault. This was going to be my Kenneth Gainwell rising to the moon on the fact that he landed in Arizona. But now I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to put my man Travis Etienne in Arizona. Linda, what do you think about Etienne in Arizona?
I don't hate that. Arizona's I'm a little hesitant about Arizona at the end of last year, and I like what Kyler Murray does, but he's just so into that tuck and run situation that I worry about any pass catching running back that you have to rely on, like in PPR type formats like that. So I don't hate it, but Kyler Murray makes me nervous for anybody in that offense but Kyler Murray.
That is a wonderful counterpoint. Troy, what do you think?
So I will agree and disagree with Linda's point, right? So
first,
of
course you will.
Well, I'm going to get to you. First, I want to tell Memphis, look, Chase Edmonds not going to be an RB1, man. I know you and probably other Chase Edmonds truthers might have that dream. It ain't
man. No, he's staying. Me and him are starting a podcast. Get Randy out of here. I was gonna unmute myself and interrupt Randy in the middle of that and just scream at him for besmirching the good name of Chase Edmonds on this podcast.
Oh my God. So I had to say that, but here's the thing, right? So to Linda's point, in the beginning of the season last year, Kyle Murray did take all the damn rushing touchdowns from Drake. He was a vulture. He wouldn't share. But towards the end of the season, there was a little bit more of the balance where Drake was sort of benefiting. I don't know what changed, but they changed it up where, okay, Drake was getting those touchdowns. So I don't know what it's going to be this upcoming year. Yes, Linda.
Kyler Murray hurt his ankle, so he couldn't vulture those touchdowns.
Right, but he was still a little bit mobile. But you're right. You're right. But but at the same time, next year, I don't know what it's going to be, right? I don't know if it's going to be more of a balance. I don't know if it's going to be the Kyler Murray show. And also last year, they used like Kenyon Drake is like the 1-2 back. They used Chase Edmonds as the passing downs back. If there was ETN, would he get the full workload? Would he get both? It's to be determined, right? But I would love if Travis Etienne ended up on that offense. That it'll be like a CEA situation where he's like automatically like number one, like 101 in rookie drafts. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it would be something like that where Twitter would just lose their freaking mind because it's such a good landing spot. But yeah, I would love it if that happened.
I would love it as well. So Jerry, thank you for throwing me a curveball. And we are going to move into pass catchers. So I'm listing this as pass catcher because someone is going to get the opportunity to go tight end, but it's not going to be me. I'm going to go first. I am going to pick which pass catcher I want to land with the Indianapolis Colts. They have, as of yet, re-signed T.Y. Hilton. They have Sammy Watkins coming in for a visit on Wednesday as this podcast releases, but this is going to be such a homer pick. but he's already residing in the state of Indiana. I want the Colts to get Rondale Moore. I know a lot of people want Paris Campbell to be that guy. Paris Campbell, I think you can do it, but you have lacked the ability to stay healthy. They've already got their big body outside clasher guy in Michael Pittman. I think that would be a nice 1-2 punch. My fear is that the Colts will go a little bit later, maybe even like round 4, because they don't have a third-round pick, because that was one of the 2 picks they traded to Philadelphia to get this. And they've went second-round wide receiver 2 drafts in a row. They went a second-round wide receiver in 19 with Paris Campbell and a second-round wide receiver last year with Pittman. Would Chris Ballard do it 3 years in a row? I know this, that they're going to give Carson Wentz, and stick around at the end of this show for a special Easter egg. I've been adding those in at the end of the show. I know they're going to give Carson Wentz every opportunity to succeed. They have to. They need him to. So I'm hoping for Rondale Moore. Someone was making fun of this man's height today. I'm like, I was not aware that Yak had a height requirement. This man squats 600 pounds. This man ran a 4.29, unofficial. If you use the Roto Underworld math, they've been adding 5/100ths of a second, so that would still make him a 4.34 guy. And I like his build. I just give me that guy. Just let him make plays, and I think that would give the Colts a well-rounded offensive skill position for Mr. Wentz. So Troy, you gave like the double fist hallelujah Rondale Moore. Is that one of your dudes?
That's probably, if I had to pick one receiver who was like my guy, it's Rondale Moore, right? And then we kind of all know the reasons why. I believe he goes to a system that utilizes him because he can be used all over the field, right? And he's that dynamic, that explosive, just like you said, run after the catch. That's what he specializes in. And if you get this man in space, it's done. It's over, right? It's my comp. I'm not a huge comp guy, but I see a little bit of Deebo Samuel, just a little bit better in some ways, but I believe he's similar in terms of the way that he could be used all over the field, and I'm just in love with him. Like every time I watched this man, he does on a whole nother level. But I'm a huge Rondale Moore stan.
Well, I kind of I get that. I kind of get Tyreek Hill vibes from Rondale Moore. I mean, it's not just because of the speed. People pigeonhole Tyreek Hill as being the speed guy, and he is. He's like the fastest guy in the league, it looks like. But he's not a bad route runner. He's actually become quite a good route runner, and I think Rondale Moore could be that for the Colts. He, every team's looking for it, whether it was Henry Ruggs or KJ Hamler. Every team's looking for this speed element, but I think this guy's the speed element and so much more. So we're going to go back to Linda. Linda, I'm going to do you and every Jalen Hurts fan in the league a solid by asking you, which pass catcher do you want the Philadelphia Eagles to take, presumably with that 6th pick, but you could project him anybody you want.
I'm hoping that you are volleying me Kyle Pitts, because that's who I'm going to talk about. Is that who you're volleying me? Okay, perfect.
See, Jerry, Linda's a professional. When her co-host tees one up, she knocks it out of the park. Write that down.
I'm more of the bunting style podcaster, but
yeah, you're the guy who strikes out when swinging on a tee. But Linda, go ahead with your love of Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, lined up everywhere. That's like a dude you want in your offense when you're that versatile and you can do outside, in the slot, on the line. You're talking about a team that's going to trade Zach Ertz. I don't think Zach Ertz is going to be an Eagle much longer. And then pairing Kyle Pitts with Goddard, that's immediately the best tight end tandem in the league. I don't think that's much of an argument. I know there's a lot of Dallas Goddard truthers, so I'm not that worried about saying that with such certainty. But he played 8 games, had 12 touchdowns. I saw somebody say he had heavy feet. No, he doesn't. He should not be able to move the way that he does at his size. And it's just so fluid. He's insane. It's so fun. And it would be so good for Jalen Hurts.
Well, that's what I like. I mean, we want to protect these young guys. And I always use the Josh Allen example, and I always use the Lamar Jackson example. Surround these guys, all these guys. Even Trevor Lawrence is limited to some degree. And when your team goes all in, it's not about what can we make these guys do. It's what can they do and what can we accentuate. And let's give him weapons. Let's give him, mismatch, things that make defensive coordinators have to think about things on so many levels. You mentioned Goddard, you mentioned Pitts, you'd have Miles Sanders, maybe Jalen Reagor takes a step forward in year 2. We saw some flashes from Travis Fulgham. That's a nice little component of weapons for a young quarterback that is going to need them, and for a team that has no cap money to bring in any veterans. That's a very savvy move. I don't think there's a wrong time to take Kyle Pitts in this draft. Mel Kiper Jr. said he's the best player in this draft. I mean, obviously he's not going to go number 1, but, it was like Quentin Nelson as a Colts fan. And a lot of people said that Quentin Nelson was the best player in that draft. All he's done is joined, I believe it's Deion Sanders, maybe it was Barry Sanders, is the only guy to be all-pro every year of his career to start. It's okay. So I love Kyle Pitts. Jerry, what about you? I mean, I know if he makes it to 7, he's going to be a Detroit Lion. But because that's what they do. They take first-round tight ends.
Live through that. Listen, I will drive to Allen Park, and I will rain hellfire down upon them if something like that happens. I think that would be awesome. I am not the biggest Jalen Hurts guy. I know a lot of people are. He's a very polarizing player. Excuse me. Probably the most polarizing of this offseason. He's like what Damian Williams was 2 or 3 years ago. That's what he is now. And anything that they add to that situation, because believe it or not, JJ, not going to be the best wide receiver. I don't know if you guys know that. He has turned out to be an absolute effing disaster. Not that I drafted him in the first round of a rookie draft. Not that I'm bitter about that in the least. God, I'm so terrible at this game, and yet you invite me every week. Listen, that would be awesome. I would be about it. And listen, we're going to talk about heavy feet. Listen, y'all haven't seen me run, and I'm not 6'4", 6'6". I'm not. I'm a little fella. Listen, if I had a Tinder profile, I would say 6 foot. It would not be actually 6 foot. I'm one of those guys. I would love Kyle Pitts to land in Philadelphia. I think that would be a great spot. The draft capital's great. The situation's great. And, maybe Jalen Reagor, he grows. Maybe he doesn't. Either way, Kyle Pitts would be a focal point of that offense. It would be awesome. Everybody would. This is another name that you would probably have to mute on Twitter for a couple of days because it would be eventful, is what is the adjective I will use.
Well, I took 2 things away from that. 1, I think we all agree that we love Kyle Pitts. And 2, even though he's married and he'll never act on it, I've got to create Jerry's Tinder profile. So I want to work on that. Now, I'm gonna give Troy. I gave Troy the toughest assignment of anybody of the pass catchers, because this team has been jilted quite a bit in free agency. They had connections to Corey Davis, Juju, Kenny Galladay, Sammy Watkins was in town for a visit. The Baltimore Ravens have not been able to land a complimentary wide receiver in free agency. So Troy, you're very good at this. So I'm going to give you the hot one. Who can the Baltimore Ravens bring in to be the man for Lamar Jackson?
To be honest, I actually enjoyed this one because there is a specific type of pass catcher that they need, right? I was a Hollywood Brown truther, but obviously he's not the wide receiver 1. He's never going to be the wide receiver 1. They need a big body wide receiver, and I believe Bateman is the best fit for the Ravens. So this man, right? There's so much you can say about him. Some people have him as the number 2 wide receiver, anywhere between 2 and 3. He's 6'1", 210 pounds. He's a good route runner. He's strong. There's not much cons you can say about him. He's smooth. He's exactly the type of dude that the Ravens need. Again, they need that big body presence outside of Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is fine, but you need someone who's also, a little bit quicker. And people are also trying to talk about he's slow, and Bateman, he's that dude. And I'm going to throw in a consolation, right? Terrace Marshall from LSU is also someone that fits that profile as well, because he's 6'3", and he's 200 pounds. Again, big body. He kept getting overshadowed by Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but Marshall, he would fit that wide receiver one for the Ravens, because that's what Lamar needs. He needs somebody who could go up and get it. That's why he honestly targets Mark Andrews all the time. He's the biggest dude on the freaking field, and he has no one else to throw to. And again, Willie Snead, like, nah, like those two dudes to me will fit the wide receiver one profile in the draft, and it's reasonable that they'll have the ability to get either one of them. It just, we'll see who falls to them.
Well, that just tells you how much Troy gets it. You know, I mentioned Greg Cosell earlier. He talks about these teams building a basketball team at the skill position. You got to have your point guard. You got to have your shooting guard, your center. You know, they've already got the small speedster guy. They've got the slot guy, kind of. I mean, Willie Snead is what it is. They've got the great tight end. What are they missing? They're missing their center. They're missing that big-bodied rebounder on the outside that can body dudes up and you know, help in the red zone to help alleviate pressure on a guy like Mark Andrews. I think that was a great pick. I do like Bateman, but I liked the complementary choice of what's already there with who Troy gave him. So, Linda, are you a Bateman fan?
Well, it gotta be. And we already shouted out Mitch, our one co-host with John Bauer, is the Bateman men. And I like Bateman just fine. I'm a little worried about anybody that ends up in Baltimore, but I think Troy made a really good point about needing a guy that can go up and get it to like be a big man there. So I don't hate that at all.
All right, well, we got one left. It's my buddy. It's Jerry. Now, Jerry, I gave you one that's interesting. I gave you the Chicago Bears, and here's why. If Allen Robinson chooses not to be here next year, they can hit him with a third franchise tag, but it would be the current tag next year plus 40% because that would be his third one. That's why his franchise tag this year was $18 million versus like $16.5 for everybody else because he got an additional 10% because it was his second tag. So they're going to want to bring in potentially the wide receiver one of the future if Allen Robinson finally gets to leave Chicago and go somewhere else. So who would be the guy to bring in to mix in that group with Darnell Mooney, with Allen Robinson, and I'm going to say his name even though I'm in the middle of a very tight end premium draft, Cole Kmet. Who are we going to bring into that pass-catching group to be the maybe not the wide receiver one in 2020, but definitely on the way in 2022?
I think they are still going to keep the mold of Allen Robinson. Now, I would have loved to say Terrence Marshall, but Troy is a sneaky guy who just snagged him from me at the end there. Bateman would be another guy. Listen, any of these guys. So they're sort of in the nice spot where they pick 20, and then they have 52 overall in the second, and then 83 in the third. So they're really in the range to go wide receiver. If I'm not going to go with one of those guys, I'm actually going to go with someone that wears the most disgusting football helmet in all of football. Nico Collins of the Michigan Wolverines. He sat out this year, big body, 6'4", can make big plays. Ironically, the only guy that really did anything against Ohio State, which if you're a human being that has watched Michigan play Ohio State in the last 20 years, you know generally they don't do a damn thing. It's like every one of you watching the Lions on Thanksgiving. It's just embarrassing for you. That's what Michigan has been. But this is a dude that, you know, Ohio State has really been DBU over the last 10 years or so. And he torched them for 2 touchdowns in one of their games. Granted, they lost the game, but Nico's big. Nico can make big plays. He's really an Allen Robinson mold, so it would not be tough. And, you know, he does need to grow a little bit. So if he can watch Allen Robinson play, I don't really think they're going to re-sign Allen Robinson. He's going to be 28 years old. Hey, listen, bless his sweetheart. And if he wants to go from Jacksonville to Chicago and then re-sign another long-term contract for the Bears with Andy Dalton, listen, I love money too, but at some point, maybe try and get to the playoffs. Maybe try and have a little bit of joy in the game that you play. And also, the dude had Christian Hackenberg when he was at Penn State. So he has just been a tortured soul his whole life. So I'm going to go with Nico because he's a guy that could go in the third round. A little bit sneaky, a little bit boring. Sorry that I did that. You guys are naming all the good stuff, and I came at you with, you know, you guys were throwing $50 bills. I threw a dime on the table and thought I belonged at the party, but I think Nico's my man. I think he's a sneaky guy to replace Allen Robinson.
Well, there you go. So we did a little wish casting tonight, just trying to put some rookie names and faces, and maybe the rookies that we projected to go to these spots don't go there. But we want you to remember those so that when someone does go to these places, that you remember them, that, oh yeah, Troy and Linda and Jerry, they were talking about that was a good landing spot for a rookie because there might be some volume, or there might be a good offensive line, or it's fantasy friendly. So that's why we did this. But I want to start with Linda. Linda, tell us what's going on with the FF Confidential and what you guys have coming up.
Well, Troy's been a booking machine, and thankfully didn't leave that up to me. Scheduling's not my strong suit, so Troy's got us pretty much booked up for the off season. We're going once every week, every other week. I'm really not on my game tonight, but we're just having fun. I enjoy hanging out with him. It sucks missing a week in between because we have so much fun when we hang out. So I'm excited for the rest of the offseason and looking forward to the draft and the chaos.
That makes two of us. And all right, so Mr. Troy, tell us what's going on over at footballguys.com, as well as what are you booking up over at the FF Confidential?
Sure. So for Football Guys, I've been contributing to a couple different Dynasty roundtables. There's also like doing a mock draft. So you can check out my contributions to both of those, as well as I just came out with a Dolphins 2020 recap and 2021 outlook. So the article just came out. Check it out. It's my first article for Football Guys. Very excited about it. So definitely make sure everybody goes and checks out that article. In terms of Fantasy Football Confidential, yeah, I've been hustling in terms of just trying to connect with people. And just like Linda says, we're pretty much full for most of the off season, but because we're going every other Wednesday, which I kind of hate it because those guys are my family. So Linda, John Bowerman, so we're all so close. So we talk every day, multiple times a day, but not seeing each other every single Wednesday like we do during the season. It's tough, but it makes when we do the show that much better. And I feel like we're all just that much more excited, but we have so much awesome content coming out. So we appreciate everybody who's checking us out, and make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube page, Fantasy Football Confidential, and download the podcast wherever podcasts are found.
There you go. And when I do my tweeting out of this podcast tomorrow, I will make sure to link Troy's article. We will not stand any Tua hate up in this podcast. So thank you guys. If you're listening on a podcast, hit pause, search in your browser feed and find the FF Confidential. Hit subscribe while you're there. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for doing so. Hit pause again, search the FF Confidential, and go over and like and subscribe to that page. Notifications turned on. It's really that simple to support good people like Linda and like Troy out there putting out amazing content all the time to help make you a better Dynasty gamer. So on behalf of Jerry, Linda, Troy, and myself, remember, here at the Dynasty WarZone, we are just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll see you back here real soon with more Dynasty WarZone.